It's Happy Hour again from Uptown New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network. It's neworleans.com. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and you pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you, especially today. What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limousine or just got out of jail or just checking their notes. What have you got on those notes there, Randy? You can keep them out if you like.
Yeah,
I just wondered what it was. They're like all crossing outs and all sorts of like a shopping list.
This is my to-do list.
Move in so we can hear you.
For the week.
What's on your to-do list?
Get on the podcast.
Well, I was thinking I would use the introduction to mentally cross off a bunch of stuff I did today.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, you want to cross anything off now before I keep going? Or?
No, please.
Okay, where was I? What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limousine or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you because that's New Orleans and this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common. Other than we're all New Orleanians in a bar, today we're at Wayfare on Ferret Street, which is a bar and a restaurant where they serve handcrafted food and spirits. They put fine dining into a sandwich and fine booze into a glass. They have a 3-hour happy hour every day here from 4 to 7. And they make awesome sandwiches. Have you guys tried them? I see Mr. Tony over here is trying one. Which one did he get in the end?
What did you get, Tony?
Oh, yeah.
Cured meat.
They cure their own meat.
Love that.
There's a window you can watch it happening. It's
That's
like
the voice of Andrew Duhon you're listening to there. Yeah, it's a slow motion drive-through.
Check Charlie Sheen in at the window.
Ooh.
Charlie Sheen.
Too soon.
Sorry.
I didn't get that. Is it some sort of a reference to something?
I don't know. I guess he came down with a terminal illness and
he's HIV positive.
What?
What?
Yeah. Oh, what?
Charlie
you guys not watching
Sheen.
news? Yeah.
Is
No.
he really?
When did that happen, Randy?
Yesterday.
The day before yesterday, yeah.
Well, it happened 4 years ago, but he announced it yesterday.
So this is Randy Mack who's joining us, who's a filmmaker, and who's got a list of things to do, and we're going to get to that in a minute. We're also joined by Dominick Blanda.
Hi.
Hello, Dominick.
Hello.
And next to him is a gentleman by the name of Reine Duke. Yes. And these two gentlemen collectively go by the name of The Fixers,
That is
which
correct.
is an awesome band, which if you don't know who that is, stick around because we're going to have some live music from them. Really impressive new album they've come out with called From Nola with Love.
Ish.
It's an EP.
Yeah.
It's not really an album, I guess,
No.
but it's still awesome.
Right. It's
I'm
pretty
really
cool.
impressed with it.
Oh,
I think it's
yeah.
great. Andrew Duhon is back from nowhere.
Yeah, no, I've been here for a few weeks now.
And the exciting news today is our fabulous photographer, Alison Moon, is here. Hi,
Yeah.
Alison.
Hey.
Welcome
And she's
home.
here. She's not behind the camera. She's behind a
I
mic.
know. We've
Yeah, it
kind of
feels
fun.
really weird to be behind the microphone.
I know, it is very weird. I won't make you do it for long, but we want to drag you onto the show because Alison just got back this morning, technically, right?
Well, I landed
After midnight
last
tonight.
night.
Right. From Paris, France, where, of course, it's all happening.
Oh.
Yes.
So you were there, of course, in the middle of this whole disaster that occurred.
So I was in France for a month. I arrived in Paris on Friday right before the attacks.
Wow. What time?
I got there in the morning, and then the attacks happened later that evening.
That makes you a little suspicious, right? Were you a suspect?
No, I wasn't anywhere near the action, so it was okay.
Where had you come from?
I had just come from Reims, the land of champagne.
Okay. Did you have any champagne while you were there?
I had a lot of
Okay.
champagne. I was kind of
That might have-
hungover when I arrived that
Really?
morning in Paris.
You still look a little hungover, frankly.
Well, I have a cold and I have really bad jet lag right now.
Right, okay. Well, just keep the microphone over on your side of the table in that case.
Yes.
Hey, so you got there. What day was this when this all happened?
Friday.
So you got there on Friday morning. What were you intending to do while you were in Paris?
I had a lot of plans, like going to the Louvre. There was a catacomb tour that I wanted to do, Versailles, and see the Eiffel Tower and Champs-Élysées. But a lot of that ended up being closed after the attacks.
So what did you end up doing?
Walking around and sitting in little cafes and sipping coffee all day. That was about it.
And were you talking to Parisians? Do you know people there, or were you by yourself? Or?
I do have a few friends there, and I had met a few Parisians.
What's the word? What's the French word for Parisian?
Parisians.
Parisien.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just say it with a French accent.
Well, I can't do that. Can you speak French?
I can speak French a little bit, and I did practice a lot while I was there. I don't know how much better it got, though.
Well, it's better than ours, I'm sure. So so how did you find out about what happened?
So that night I was at a jazz club with a friend. It was an underground jazz club, so she wasn't getting any text messages or internet notifications. And I left a little early because I was tired. I had just, like I said, I had spent the whole day hungover from champagne the
Right.
previous day.
What time of the night is this we're at now?
I ended up leaving the jazz club around midnight, and then by the time I got back to my hotel room from the metro and everything, it was 12:30. And I looked at my phone, and I had about 20 Facebook messages that were like, "Are you okay? What's going on?"
Wow.
My sister especially was freaking out, so
And you didn't know anything about what was
I
happening?
didn't know. So they were asking me what was going on, and I had to respond to all of their
Wow.
messages
But you had no
first.
clue at all?
No.
So how did you find
Well,
out?
I'd actually heard people talking on the subway because I can understand French, and I kept hearing them say 30 dead, but I didn't know what they were referring to because that's all that they were saying was 30 dead. But everybody was talking to each other, and the subway was it was not that crowded, so I was kind of curious as to why it wasn't that
Why
crowded.
30
and-
people were dead? Were
Yes.
you wondering about that?
Yes, so I thought maybe
What
they
was
were
your
talking
supposition?
about,
Yeah, what were you thinking?
they were maybe talking about an attack somewhere else.
Oh, right.
And then when I got back to the hotel room and checked my phone and was able to finally get on the internet and saw what was happening, that's when all these police sirens kept flying by my hotel room. And
So the interesting thing to me about this story so far is that you don't have your phone on you.
well, I had my phone on me. It's just I have an American phone plan. I
Oh,
didn't
so you have to
a-
wait till you're on Wi-Fi
Yeah,
back at your
Wi-Fi.
hotel. Ah, right, okay. So you knew nothing at all.
I knew
so you're
nothing
actually
at all.
traveling across Paris during the time
Yes.
after this attack.
You know,
which I probably, in retrospect, shouldn't have been doing.
well, you know, you're just traveling, but you didn't know. You're doing the freedom thing. But you know what was really nice is that, you know, I have my own qualms about social media, but I think, you know, I remember pulling up my Facebook, and you and like 4 more of my friends had checked in from Paris to let, you know, everybody know that they were okay. I thought that was really nice, really comforting, you know, to
But that was
have
a Facebook thing,
institute
right?
this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did a lot of people check on Facebook with you? I mean, was that a useful... I mean, Facebook obviously had this stashed in their back pocket ready for a disaster.
Yeah, I think they've done it before.
Yeah, I think they had started the little check-in thing for a previous disaster so people could check in.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I wonder if Facebook was behind the whole thing.
Oh.
Is it possible?
Beware the man of one book.
Exactly. Anyway, so what an amazing coincidence. Sort of weird that you would be in the... I mean, it's like being in the middle of history for a minute. Mm-hmm. But did it have any... I mean, other than it ruined your whole trip because you couldn't do anything, did it have any personal effect on you? Were you scared? Did you make you reconsider traveling or anything?
No, not at all. Well, the funny thing is everything... There's always something that goes terribly wrong when you plan a trip like this, like that. I was there for a month, so I was expecting something to go wrong. And nothing went wrong the entire time other than what I thought was... So the funny thing was, I had initially talked about going to the show, the Eagles of Death Metal show, because I'm a big fan.
Oh, goodness.
And I didn't know when I was getting back to Paris, but it was something that I had looked into possibly doing. And when I didn't know when I was getting back to Paris, I was like, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to have time to plan everything around it. And then I had actually booked an Airbnb right in the place where the other shootings were going on, the Place de la Republique. Wow. And they ended up canceling on me the day before that I arrived.
Wow.
So it
Jeez,
worked
you're kind
out.
of lucky.
Yeah, it very much worked out in my favor. But as for the attacks themselves, it was very hard to stay in the city for the next couple of days. There was just a heaviness that was hanging over everybody. And it was just very hard to be there. Everybody was trying to move on and go on with their lives as best as possible, but it was just very difficult. It felt kind of like you were in a war state. If you would go to a place like the Eiffel Tower or the Champs-Élysées, which you couldn't get that close to it because they didn't want tourists gathering around all these things. There was just a lot of security guards, like with full machine guns and uniform military everywhere. Even just like strolling down the street, they would walk into like a subway car and everybody would just go deathly silent.
Wow, what an experience! And were people talking about what they expect to happen now? I mean, ordinary people, like we would talk about after Katrina, we talked about nothing else, non-stop for probably years. What are they talking about?
A lot of them are expecting there to be like a really full-on war now. A lot of them are very worried about other attacks that might actually happen in the city or around France because they think this isn't the last that they've seen of it. So they're kind of some of the Parisians I've met are very much expecting it to get a lot worse, whereas some of the other people that I know there but who are Americans are like, I don't think it'll be as bad as they're anticipating it to be.
That's the American versus the French mentality.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But it'll just be kind of a wait and see, unfortunately.
Okay, so who are these? What was the name of this band again?
Eagles of Death Metal.
Do you guys know who they are?
Yeah.
Everyone knows who they are?
They're a really
I'd
good
never
band.
heard of them. To be honest.
Randy, you never heard of them either?
No.
I'd never heard of them, but you know Charlie Sheen has AIDS, so that's something.
I know this show has really started off on a positive note.
Come in a little bit over here, Dominic. So, yeah, it is a pretty upbeat sort of a show today, actually.
Well,
We don't call it happy hour for nothing.
You get to drink, and whether you're sad or happy or somewhere in between, bars will always be open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you never know what you're going to get on happy hour. I mean, sometimes it's not so funny.
No, not
Eagles of Death
not.
Metal.
Right.
That's unbelievable, though. That first of all, you could have been at that show, and secondly, you could have been at the other location where people were going down outside, which you easily could have been sitting outside on a cafe at that time. God, how do you feel about that, actually, Alison?
It all works out for a reason, so since it didn't happen, I try not to think about it.
Do you think God spared you or Satan?
Or Allah.
I think it was just, there's a travel god it's like a Greek travel god that I forget the name of that I think was kind
Travel
of
Maybe
guide.
you should
It's
remember
travel
that.
guide.
Is it
a Greek
Fodor.
travel I forget the name of the god, but
Right. There's a
How
Greek
it-
god of travel.
It's pretty
Dominic.
ironic, though, that you went to France, leaving from New Orleans to go to France, and then you wound up hanging out in a jazz club, and then after that, walked the streets and sipped coffee in
it
different
was actually
cafes.
a Czech jazz club. It's
Oh, okay, well,
like under the Czech embassy, they have this lounge and it was a Hungarian jazz band.
Were they any good?
They were very good.
Okay. What are they called?
It was a Hungarian name that
has
I
a-
couldn't
okay.
pronounce.
Goulash.
Something.
Okay. Well, what a story, Alison. Well, thank God you're okay, and sorry you had to have your trip ruined, but God, what a great experience. In a sense, I mean, not a great experience, but what a hell of an experience
Yeah.
to have been
I
through
wish
that.
it never would have happened. Unfortunately, I wish I could come back saying that, the paintings at the Louvre are amazing.
But we never would have had you on. We would have just said, hey, Alison's back from France. How awesome.
I would still have preferred that than to what
no
happened
kidding.
to
I know. It's horrible. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what does happen, of course, next. Somebody at INO Broadcasting, and I can't say who, put a tweet today on our Twitter account, which has got a bit of attention. I thought it was funny, but see if you guys... You know what happened today? The French police stormed an apartment somewhere in France, and there were two people in there. I think they were looking for the person who masterminded this, and one of them was a woman.
Right.
I saw that tweet. Yeah.
She was wearing she was wearing a
Vest.
bomb vest, and she blew herself up. So someone put on the INO thing, do you think there's a guy somewhere in Paris relieved he doesn't have to make that breakup phone call? I thought that was funny, actually.
I think it's funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
She blew it up. Come on.
I mean, she blew herself up.
Yeah.
So don't you think every guy, sits around saying, God, she's gone pretty crazy lately. I don't know how I'm going to do it.
I think, it's always, isn't that the tough thing in like moments of tragedy, and where you don't feel like it's your right to decide when, comedy is okay because you aren't the most hurt by something. But then you look at that, did you see the Charlie Hebdo illustration? Since the attacks, they did an illustration, something like it was a guy drinking champagne with bullet holes in the champagne coming out of him that said something like,
no.
fuck you, at least we have champagne, or something,
Right.
Just going for it, as they do,
Well,
unaffected.
it's hard with comedy.
Comedy sometimes in these instances are a good, almost the voice of reason. What you just described almost seems more like you can do your terrorist attacks, do whatever evil you want to do, but we are who we are.
Yeah, we will remain unterrorized. Yeah.
Right, and that's an amazing, thing to me. And that's when, comedians who often you look to, just to laugh at and
Absolutely.
stuff this is when they can be strong for us. This is when we need them,
Right.
I say that because my brother is a stand-up comedian.
Sweet.
His
Is he
name's
really?
Leon
Nice
Blanda.
segue.
Leon Blanda.
Leon
I'm going to
Blanda.
write that down. We're going to look at him up.
Who was it that
Funny
said,
guy.
it's a strange world when we get our politics from our comedians and our comedy from our politicians. But that's what it kind of is these days, and it has probably been for a long time, really.
Yeah, there aren't many politicians that we look up to and think are statesmen and leaders, even at a time like this. All right, that's true. Anyway, that was our tweet on I. I'm glad you saw that, Randy. You thought it was funny, right?
Well,
not really.
I'm a comedy snob, so.
Well, who do you think's funny?
Comedy-wise?
Yeah, who's your favorite?
Leon Blanda's pretty funny.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Leon Blanda's awesome, right? When was the last time you saw the Leon Blanda show, the HBO special?
Oh, at a show at House of Blues that he does every Wednesday night. Right?
Yeah, I've seen him, but I saw him at, I want to say Indywood, when Indywood was back on Elysian Fields.
Oh, did you really?
He hosted something.
Okay, he's not making it up. I thought.
Oh, wow, I thought it was too.
Randy, nice.
Give me that $20 back, please.
No way, man. So,
what is Indywood?
Indywood is a new movie theater that these two kids from Colorado started.
What are their names? Did we have those guys?
About a year and a half ago, maybe Will and Haley Sampson, and they put it in the laundromat behind the Spotted Cat on Elysian Fields, that wash, dry, fold place. And they tried to do a 7-show-a-week movie theater, like basically from scratch, with borrowed chairs and a screen and a DVD projector. And then they lost the lease abruptly the spring. And they used to host, I think it was called, I want to say like comedy kickboxing. Does that ring a bell? Something like that.
It's a good idea. There's two things that don't usually go together.
Right.
Yeah, it was a cool thing because the comedy scene in New Orleans is really kind of exploding. I think there's 10 or 11 weekly comedy shows in the city. So it's more than one a week. It's kind of crazy.
10
and that's
or
on
11
top
is
of
more than one a night.
One a day, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's pretty. I mean, if you're into comedy, you can go. You're.
Hey, I got to ask you a question. What's wrong with your headphones? Why don't you just put them on like a normal person?
Because they're. Okay, fine, whatever.
Thank God. That was giving me a heart attack.
I was just not going to fill
There's a reason
airtime.
Yeah, Randy had his headphones on the back of his head like you see guys in recording studios.
Yeah, that's the way. That's what I.
Why do you do? Is that some sort of a movie thing?
It's a recording thing. I'm in the middle of post production on a feature called Laundry Day, and I've been doing a lot of sound editing. And so I have Sennheiser cans, and I wear them
fancy.
backwards.
We've got shitty ones. Why do you put? So you put them on so that the thing that
just
goes
so-
on your head
it's
is on
just
the
so
back of your head. What's the object with that?
I don't know.
It
I don't like my hair getting messed up because,
Is that true, or are you just kidding?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Well, so what? It doesn't squash your ears or something?
No, it's about heat. It's about getting hot and getting sweaty scalp and stuff, and yeah.
Does it stop the headphones getting hot? Because that is a pain in the ass, quite frankly.
Yeah. Mine have deeper ear holes than these, so it's not an issue. But I like the way the headpiece sits on the back of my collar.
Okay.
Actually,
why didn't you bring your own headphones?
because I didn't
know there were headphones.
I didn't even know there
involved.
were headphones.
I wish
on
you
the
would have
show.
sent out something to be like,
Yeah,
hey,
we could
please
bring
bring
our own
your
headphones.
because now I
Well,
can't wear mine like I want
Where's
to.
Graham? Graham DePonte up.
You already have a hat on.
We need to
get
improve
prepared.
on that in future. We need to ask people to bring their own headphones if they have a favorite.
I'd like
pair
to
of
apologize
headphones.
on the behalf of everyone involved.
I'm sorry.
about
Over the
headphones.
years, we fucked up
everyone.
the
You really
whole
let us
headphone
down,
situation.
Andrew.
Everybody.
Okay, so Laundry Day is a movie that you wrote and directed.
That's right. Yeah.
And what's it about? I know what it's about. It's on my thing here. Look, I'll tell you. Now, here's Maisha Francis, by the way. See, I've got her bio here.
Yeah, she's not here.
She's not here because of the weather.
Just
I didn't
dudes
realize
today.
that was an option.
Just a whole lot of dudes.
Humid.
Yeah, it's a big sausage fest.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't
mean,
realize
what?
that you could not, show up to something you had an obligation for, even if you didn't really want to do it. If
You should
thought,
try running a store.
Well, you just make up an excuse,
The weather. She called Graham and said she's not here because of the weather.
whether or not she wanted to come.
Whether or not she wanted to come. Exactly. Well, what store do you run, Randy? Randy.
You can call me whatever
Dominick.
you want. It's cool. Can we edit that later? No.
Yeah. I'll go back and change that because that's awful.
I actually
What
run
store?
a Starbucks.
You run a
I'm a
Starbucks?
Starbucks.
Which one?
manager.
Oh,
It's
nice.
in Slidell, right off I-10. By the
Which
Bye.
exit?
the second Slidell exit coming from New Orleans. No, third Slidell exit coming from New Orleans. I don't know.
Near
That's
the-
usually
near
why my
the-
workers don't come because they forget what exit
near
is.
the Gentleman's Club.
Yeah, yes,
What's
actually
that called?
it is.
The Hubcap?
Scuttlebutt.
Scuttlebutt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
keep meaning to stop. I really mean to stop by. You know, I just.
Or Scuttlebutts?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Sorry,
a
not to
great
say
name
that.
for a strip club. My God.
Oh, yeah.
Scuttlebutt.
It's classy.
Yeah.
That's
Is it?
what it is. It's classy.
I just.
Yeah.
It seems homegrown.
Yeah. I'm sure my company is going to love how I talked about Starbucks and Scuttlebutts in the same.
You're just talking about nearby businesses. When
Right.
people get out of a Scuttlebutts at 3 a.m. or 5 a.m., they
And
probably
come
need a
get
coffee.
Coffee,
What
yeah.
time do they open Starbucks at?
4:30 in the morning.
Oh,
You have to be there at 4:30?
No, we have to be there for 4.
oh.
I just
Oh my
don't sleep.
God.
Yeah. I don't.
Are you kidding?
No.
They open Starbucks at 4:30. Who
that
knew
one
that?
in particular.
Why? Who's awake
It's
at
to get that
4:30?
Scuttlebutt
Truckers.
crowd.
Yeah, it's a good. Yes.
Who's awake at 4:30 though? Legitimately, I mean, other than going home.
The other workers who
People
have
like-
to be there.
Is anyone up at 4:30 to start the day, other than going home at 4:30?
Yeah, we have a couple of EMTs who come in
Okay.
every morning. So,
Wow.
yeah.
What
Th-
time? Wow,
thanks for
that's
that.
amazing. So, but
EMTs.
do you? How many nights a week do you play music?
I guess probably like 3 or 4, depending
Right.
on how motivated we are. We practice a couple of nights. We probably play 2 or 3 times a month. You know. And,
So it's like the comedy show. There's more comedy shows in town than you play.
there are more comedy
So if you
shows.
did-
Actually, we
if you
get
got
our-
together with
yeah.
Leon,
Right,
you could open
we
for
do
him.
actually. Yeah,
Yeah, occasionally we do.
because he's got a good venue at the House of Blues, so we frequent there.
He
We'll
plays
play.
House of Blues.
Yeah, he does. He's got a weekly show at the House of Blues every Wednesday night, and then Tuesday and Thursday at Jack's Brewery. So he runs 3 of those 11 comedy shows
So he's
a
doing
week.
3 comedy shows a week.
3 comedy
Leon
shows
Blanda
a
and
week.
his comedy shows, and so you get to open for him, or
Sometimes I make him open for me, because then it turns into, who does mom love more, kind of a thing.
who's the
It's
oldest?
kind of, he is by 16 months, though.
16 months.
Yeah, I had his ankle. I had it.
Yep.
Just
Slipped right by you.
bastard.
And you're
got
both
to-
from Slidell, or
he
you just
tripped me.
moved to Slidell?
No, we're from New Orleans. We just moved to Slidell.
So you intentionally, as an adult, made a decision to move to Slidell. That's interesting.
Not really.
Were you
just never
forced
got
into
back
it?
here.
Oh, after the
Starting
storm.
with this interview. and
That's
then
weird
after
because
this.
Slidell was actually when you got back here from what? From after Katrina? You're talking about?
No. This was just since we were kids. We moved to Slidell
Oh, so you
with
did?
my family. Yeah.
That's what
We were
I-
born in New Orleans, moved to Slidell at an early age, and then
All right.
slowly branching
Okay,
out.
so you were brought up in Slidell.
Brought up in Slidell.
Okay, so that's a big question then: is Slidell High or Selman?
Is what?
Which high school did you go to?
Oh, I don't want to talk about that because technically it wasn't in Slidell where I went to high school.
You didn't go to Pearl River, by any
What? I didn't hear that. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Next question.
That's interesting. Wow, that's a terrible decision your parents made sending you to Pearl River.
You hear that, Mom and Dad?
What made them? What made them think of a thing like that?
They didn't think of it. It just sort of happened.
Right.
You know.
Just
Why
like
this
you.
show is so dark.
Well, you must have.
Ryan went to Pearl River too.
Did you go to Pearl River High as well?
Yes, I did.
Well, one good thing came out of it. You met each other, I assume. Then.
Right.
How
And
did you meet?
And
In
then
school?
the romance
Well,
began.
we met each other when we were, basically kids. We grew
Yeah.
up together.
Well, high school was regarded as kids still, I think.
Well, much
You met-
earlier than that.
What age
No,
was
you
it?
see the way these kids dress nowadays? Sorry. I just wanted to get that accent in here. I got
Okay.
so many more.
What accent is that?
What
French?
What is wrong with this high school? I want to know.
Pearl River. Tell them what's wrong with Pearl River High.
Nothing at all.
No, not-
Can we edit Pearl River? No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
Is-
Pearl River's technically in Louisiana, right?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it?
But
Yeah,
you'd think
sure.
it's in Mississippi. Put it that way.
Oh man.
I think that's the best description. We think that's accurate.
It's basically it's just it's a very boring town. There's not a whole lot to do.
No, we
other
have
than
we have like 2 gas stations now.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
haven't lived there in years.
our newest arrival was a McDonald's.
There's a McDonald's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all I can tell you, Randy, is that
And they're
I worked on a
Irish.
radio station in Slidell, which is why I know about all these places. And kids would call up on that station, and they would say, like, "Hi, can you play something?" or whatever. As soon as they said the word "hi," I knew that they were calling from Pearl River.
Why?
There's some sort of
Hi?
accent in
Was
Pearl.
it hi?
I don't know. How do you do
That's
it?
another one of my accents.
Can you do a Pearl River accent, you guys?
You go, Ryan. You have more experience with that than I do.
I really
I don't know how.
I don't know. I've
I don't
done my
know.
best to just try not to talk that way.
Yeah, well, you sound very sophisticated and urban.
But I mean, with the town the way it is, it's just there's nothing to do there other than sit in your room, play guitar.
That's
right.
kind of the way we
There
just
it
fell
is.
into music. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, that's how you got good.
Yeah. I mean,
So things worked
Well,
out.
not
and that's
good. That's how we.
As well as good
We're
as you can get.
terrible. You haven't heard us yet.
You guys are
live,
really
yeah.
good. Shall we make you play something right now to prove it?
Yep.
Why don't we?
Let me
Okay.
go run and get my guitar.
Yeah.
I'm
I'll be
sure.
back
talk
in,
amongst
I'm
ourselves.
I'll be
sure
back
we'll
in
do
10
it.
minutes.
Fine.
You got it.
Okay, where is it? In Pearl River? Where is this guitar, actually?
I got a
right back.
question
Somewhere
about
over here.
Slidell that maybe you can answer.
Yeah,
Got into
sure.
an argument about this the other day. Why is it considered North Shore when it's east of here and connected to it? We don't have to cross the lake to get to it.
Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
You have to cross the lake to get to Slidell, by the way. That's that bridge. Have you ever been
Oh,
to
I
Slidell?
thought that was like a river.
That's the lake.
No, I'm
Right.
wondering this myself.
Is it?
No,
But you do have to go across the lake, right?
Yeah, we didn't get a lot of geographical training in Pearl River School, so.
Those twin spans that blew down in Katrina that they rebuilt now. That's across Lake Pontchartrain, as far as I'm aware. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Does that explain it for you?
But it's still east, so it's East Shore?
Yes, it is east of New Orleans.
It's a sphere. What's really east?
It depends on how you turn the
Non-Euclidean.
map, right? Right?
There you go.
North Shore. North is up.
That's
right.
right.
So
That's
just
right.
it's lateral.
That's a good question. Well, of course, North is only up because of some ridiculous idea that we have. There's no reason. We're suspended in space, after all.
I
Correct.
feel like how
North
I
could
said
be
lateral,
down.
I meant
Well,
vertical.
the planetary
Can we
plane,
edit that
it's
too?
right above the plane that all the planets orbit on.
What about it?
Our Earth is rotating on us, and North is towards 90 degrees off that.
Dude,
axis.
I just said north is up. Can we just leave it at that?
Yeah, we shouldn't have got into this, but there's no reason for North to be up, right? I mean, we just decided that North is up
Yeah, exactly.
because we're in space, which has no walls or direction. Is that correct?
Seems like the way that you look at a panorama, and if you're not going to go to the North or South Pole, then you might as well leave those at the top and bottom, and you'd rather look right to left in the panorama of the map. Maybe it's that.
Because we read right to left, maybe?
Yeah, that thing.
Not everybody.
Not the Chinese.
Right.
No, we
Not
don't. We
Chinese,
read
yeah.
left to right, by the way, Randy.
Well, there's...
Top
what
to
I mean
bottom,
is-
left to right.
Yeah,
Horizontally,
yeah,
yeah.
horizontally.
Oh, what
No.
about some languages go
Yeah,
up
you're
and
right.
down, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, Chinese or Japanese,
Okay.
maybe.
One of those.
Tomato,
Different.
tomato.
Jeopardy!
Okay, so
What is reading left to right?
what is?
Jeopardy.
Hey, so Dominic, what are you thinking of playing here? Something off the record?
Actually, that From NOLA with Love is an EP that I'd put out. We played on it, but it was something that I did more as a solo thing in the Fixers or.
Oh, so what's the
More.
Fixers record? Where can
Right
we
now,
steal
we don't
that?
have one. It's in
Ah.
the works. I got some EPs for you guys, though,
Okay,
for
sweet.
hanging
Well,
out here.
I just listened to you on SoundCloud, and of course, I've heard you on Wednesdays at the House of Blues, and the songs are great,
Oh, well, thank you.
really great.
Thank you.
I don't know if we can we do justice to them with just the guitar, with the same.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
really good. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, which one?
No, I, that's why I have a band to make me sound good. But this song that I'm going to do, it's a song that we wrote in the Fixers project, and it's called "A Ghost in the River." So,
Pearl River comes
and
back.
Ghost in the Pearl River.
All
No,
right.
it's actually loosely based on. Anybody hear of Jeff Buckley?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
Buckley,
sure.
Jeff Buckley died in
In the
river,
Mississippi.
in the
Yeah.
Mississippi
Yeah.
River with his boots on.
Right. Okay, good.
So it's a song
Good,
about
you know,
that.
Oh, there you go. Awesome.
Okay.
Well, actually, I know nothing about that. So now that you said that, now I should play a different song. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I'm just kidding. Down to the river to try to hear the sound of the ghost from the mist that rises by the bodies drowned. Tall tale of leather boots under a Memphis sky. I went down to the river to try to hear the cry. I went down to the river.
chase away the day. Back down to New Orleans under a quarter moon. I went down to the river to learn a different tune. I went down to the river. Ghost in the river, face in the water, call it my name. I went down to the river to hear the siren song, calling out my name, singing I belong. Tell my love I'm sorry, I won't be around. I went down to the river, a little too far down. I went down to the river. Ghost in the river, face in the water. I'm going
Thank you very much.
Jeff Buckley's Ghost in the Mississippi River. Very nice. Hey, can you keep playing for 1 second while I read these sponsorship
Sure.
messages? Then when we come back from this, I'm going to make you talk about working in Hollywood, Randy. Randy's got a pretty interesting story about Hollywood success.
Cool.
In the film biz. He's quite a sort of a big shot.
I've seen it from across the streets.
It's hard to tell by looking at him, but he's actually sort of a Hollywood success story.
Nice.
I'll tell you all about it in just a minute.
no.
Today's show is brought to us in part by Petite Pet Care. If you're going out of town or you have a crazy schedule, the folks at Petite Pet Care will take care of your pet in his or her own home. For loving care when you're not there, you can go to petitepetcare.com and Christy will hook you up. Thanks too to Basic Swim and Gym, a full range of fashion swimsuits, workout and yoga clothes are available there with style. They have a bunch of cool stuff, and you can find them on Magazine Street. Basic Swim and Gym is on Magazine Street near Jefferson Avenue. Thanks too to the folks at Hangover Destroyer, the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover. Go to the Hangover Destroyer website. It's called hdestroyer.com. Write the words Happy Hour in the coupon code if you can focus enough to see that. And you too can get 30% off of Hangover Destroyer and Seize the Dawn and unlistednola.com, the revolutionary new way to buy a house in New Orleans if you have any money left over. If you know what you're looking for, you can find your perfect match before it comes on the market. It's thematch.com of real estate. It's unlistednola.com. Thanks to all those guys for helping us make the show possible. And now Randy's got his iPad out or something here as well.
To-do list.
There's his to-do list. He's checking off his email. Checking your emails. He's a real Hollywood guy, this guy. See, I'm telling you. So there's a lot of mythical stories you hear about people who start off in the film business in the mailroom at some agency. But you actually did. You actually started off in the mailroom at Endeavor, which is an agency, right? Which was like a spin-off of some of the big agencies.
Right. It was founded by CAA guys.
And CAA is the biggest agency in the film business that runs the whole town. And some of those guys split off and formed Endeavor. And it says in my information here that you started out in the mailroom.
That's right.
And you've ended up hugely successful working for...
No.
It seems like, to us, it's hugely successful working for George Clooney and Steven Soderbergh, working for Peter Guber, Brett Ratner, Larry Mack, and Pierce Brosnan's company.
Right.
and making a couple of award-winning films on top of it.
Yeah.
You wrote, directed, and filmed 5 Minutes Late in New Orleans, which was voted number 2 in the Super 8mm film, which is, okay, that's one thing. But what about this? It says here you made what is this cool movie I read about?
Burning Annie, probably?
Burning Annie. Have you heard of this movie, Burning Annie?
I haven't. Tell me about it.
It was it premiered at the Hamptons Film Festival, where it won 6 awards. It was acquired by Lightyear Warner Brothers and released. When did it come out?
2007.
2007.
I just fist bumped him. That's
Nice.
amazing.
All those things are quite a
That's
big deal
awesome.
to have achieved, especially to actually be a working person in Hollywood.
Well, I don't work in Hollywood, though.
Well, you did, though. What did you do for George Clooney, for example?
I started as an assistant, and the standard ladder in development, and you used to work in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
The mailroom people become assistants on desks, and then from there they often move laterally to either management companies or the studio itself, or production companies with a studio deal, and that's what I did. I became the story editor at Endeavor, which was essentially packaging clients around. You'd take a screenplay by a client, you'd find a director who matched it, and actors, and then you'd present it to the agents as like, see if you're, the clients like this teaming of talent. And essentially that's what an independent producer does. And so I went to work for George Clooney, and it started as an internship, but Clooney this was in 98, 99, and he was kind of flailing a bit. He had made a couple of really bad commercial films, and then he made Out of Sight with Steven Soderbergh, and it changed his entire reputation. And he teamed up and changed his company from a vanity label to a really important independent film kind of machine inside the Hollywood system. And then so I learned in there kind of how to put movies together and the value of like prestige over like commercial stuff. And I kind of got a fire in my belly about that, and then became an independent producer. And while I was putting together Burning Annie, I was a professional screenplay analyst, which is to say I was writing coverage and notes for those production companies.
And they're all very important jobs in Hollywood. A person who writes coverage, which is the sort of lowest of the low because you're just reading screenplays and getting $45 or something.
Right.
That actually determines the fate of a screenplay on a Monday morning, whether it's actually going to go ahead as a project or it's going to fail. So that was all on you.
The value, the readers are a weird group because they have different levels of importance in different kinds of companies. In a place like Brett Ratner's company had 24 readers or something on staff, and they were just churning through material, and it wasn't, you never got to talk to any of the executives. You only talked to assistants. But at Larry Mark's company, for instance, I was in meetings. They brought me onto the studio a lot. I was able to actually have a conversation about the material that they took seriously, and it was pretty interesting. It felt like being a development exec.
Did you find anything great while you were working there?
Yeah, several scripts. And that I actually, when I formed my production company, I actually pursued several of them. And it was weird because I got to read a lot of material that's gotten made in the last 15 years, which a lot of which I said, oh, this has got something there, but it's not good yet. And then it would get like The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. I don't know if you guys have heard of that film.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that came off of a novel, and the novel was really problematic in a lot of ways. And I thought, well, there's, I gave it a pass, but I was sort of like keep an eye on it. And so Clooney passed on it, and it went to Brad Pitt, and Brad Pitt made it. And
that's a pretty good idea, though. They just thought that you could pass on something and then buy it for yourself later.
Yeah, and I did that a few times, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of anti-corruption rules there in Hollywood, or doesn't?
Everyone gets paid in the end, so it's not breaking any rules,
So you hit on something pretty interesting, because George Clooney was a guy who was on, like, what show was he on?
He was on ER was the big show that broke him.
Yeah. And then he was sort of just like a sort of a schlocky kind of actor. He was like a good-looking guy, and no one took him seriously, but somehow he transformed himself into this sort of intellectual.
Yeah.
But how did he? You were there for that. Was that all because of that one movie?
It was. But Soderbergh was also coming off a slump, and they sort of needed each other in a way. Soderbergh needed commercial traction,
Is that what, like, Oceans, when
Yeah,
then
it was-
was that before or
That was
after?
so Out of Sight was 98. Ocean's 11 was 2001.
Okay.
So it was in the year that I worked for Clooney. He made The Perfect Storm with Wolfgang Peterson. He made Oh Brother Where Art Thou with the Coen Brothers.
Great.
He made Three Kings, and it was working with those caliber directors. Like multiple Oscar winners, basically across the board. Changed his. Everyone realized he's not going to be, no offense to Pierce, a Pierce Brosnan type of actor. He's developed his own material, and that was really important. And he was writing too. He sold an HBO pilot that he wrote, which never got picked up to series, but he was clearly moving in the direction of an auteur in
Even
the
George
path
Clooney couldn't get a screenplay produced at HBO. Are you serious?
Well, it got bought and shot. It just not picked up to series. So
That's pretty
But he's
instructive.
He wrote Good Night and Good Luck.
Yeah, so he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Right.
So
he deserves to be treated as an intellectual because he
Right.
actually is one.
Well, he comes from a family of journalists, actually, which is
Well, Rosemary Clooney is his what?
I think his
grandmother or aunt or
or
something?
great aunt, maybe. Yeah.
Right.
So
she
there's-
was. I don't know whether she was any intellectual, but she was certainly an entertainer. And his parents are journalists.
I believe so.
You'll have to have another drink if you'd like, Randy. By the way.
That's all right.
Okay. So tell us about the current film you're working on.
Oh, Laundry
Day.
Yeah, Laundry
Yeah.
Day is it's basically about a bar fight I saw in Checkpoint Charlie's right after Katrina, where I was sitting on a stool minding my own business with the first beer of the afternoon and the
What
laundry.
time are we talking about?
4 p.m.
Oh, that's pretty reasonable.
On like a Tuesday, maybe.
Yeah.
And this band was playing, and there's a weird tension in the room, but it's checkpoints, so
There's always a weird
maybe it's
tension
just
in the room.
in the wood.
Well, describe
but
Checkpoint Charlie to people who are listening to the show might not have
Okay.
been here.
It's a 24-hour bar laundromat nightclub
Enough said.
that sort of caters to
With-
service
with
industry and
food.
gutter punks. Yeah, and it's got a restaurant in it. A restaurant. It's
French
a grill.
fries
They
and-
got a
yeah.
grill. And it's right on the intersection of the French Quarter and Frenchmen Streets. So it gets this amazing tides of tourists and gutter punks and service industry getting off work and so on. And this particular afternoon, a fight broke out at the bar between two people that caused everyone else in the bar to jump in on the fight.
Oh, wow.
And then the singer on stage in mid-song jumped off stage, grabbed the chair, and started swinging it at people and ended up knocking out the bartender who had just jumped around to break it up.
Wow.
And
Well, you couldn't have written this any better than that.
it was pretty amazing. But the really amazing thing, I mean, bar fights are actually pretty common in New Orleans, I've found, at least in the bars I like. And I got to know everybody involved in that fight over the next 5 or 6 years. So the band turned out to be Washboard Lisa, and with Roberto Ludi and Nervous Dwayne. I don't know if you know these guys. They're all, French Quarter veterans. And the bartender, Angelo, became a friend of mine. And as I told the story to friends over the years, I found I could shorthand the story by just saying, instead of describing the band, I could say it was Washboard Lisa, and everyone would go, oh, well, that makes sense, and so forth. And the more you got to know the people involved, the better the story was. And I had this idea for telling a story about New Orleans where you, as a lot of people do, they come to the city and they're just saucer-eyed at the strangeness. And then they live here for a decade and they don't even blink when something crazy is happening, And I thought I could open a story with a crazy incident and then take you back and teach you who these people are and then show you it again at the end of the movie, and it's a completely different event, even though it's exactly the same. And that's what Laundry Day is.
Tarantino it.
Yeah, it's a little like Go. If you ever saw that movie, Doug Liman's second film, it's definitely got all those great non-linear things. Definitely stole something from Soderbergh in his handling of time.
That sounds awesome. That sounds amazing.
So you see this fight. The movie opens with a big fight. Mm-hmm. And the guy jumps off stage in the band, just as you just described it.
Right.
And then what do you go to after that? How do you go back?
So what I did was, and I don't know that this structure has ever been done, but maybe it's not dissimilar from Rashomon, but it has one important difference. When we open with the fight, we don't see the end of the fight. We get about a minute into it, and we lock in on a person and then jump back to their morning and see them wake up and then go through their day, and we walk through their day in their shoes, and you start seeing characters from the fight in their world intersecting them,
Is the jump back some sort of like PowerPoint-esque graphic transition, or do you put like 12 hours earlier or something?
We did it without the words.
Cool.
We did some
Just a cut.
clever stuff with running the footage backwards and so forth. Yeah.
So who's we? Who are you working with?
Well, it's an all
Is this all
New
you?
Group of people. This is one of the things I wanted to do was prove that independent film, that you could make a complete feature here without using Hollywood South, but at the same time not trying to sort of play their game. So we have I wrote, directed, and produced it, and we used an entirely like our average crew member age is like 23 years old, probably.
Average, meaning there's some 12-year-olds in it?
No, they're more like 18-year-olds probably.
Okay.
And then our cast is the thing about Hollywood South is that they don't really hire our great actors for good roles. People who
So
are
we have great actors here.
Yes, lots of them, and
Okay.
they do theater and they win awards. We have a Lifetime Achievement Award winner in our cast. But when Hollywood South comes calling, they've already cast all the top roles,
Right.
so they end up as reporter number 2 or barista number 3 or the cab driver or whatever.
Can I just ask you a question? Has nobody in New Orleans in the last how many ever years we've been making movies here now, 10 or more, thought about doing this, making a movie here we're using local talent?
Well, there are a few. I keep track of them in a blog I write called Central NOLA Cinema, which is because what I'm interested in is films where New Orleans is actually New Orleans, not anywhere USA or dystopian future.
Right. Where it's shot, you mean as New Orleans, not
Yes,
just as a backdrop
exactly.
or something. Okay.
Right. And
are there many of those?
there are very few. I mean, it's really amazing. The independent scene, as I found it when I moved here in 2006, is largely identical, with a huge, with the main difference being a gigantic amount of physical resources are now available in a way they weren't. Cameras, dolly trucks, grip trucks, so on and so forth. But the actual number of filmmakers is maybe, I don't know. We have 2 or 3 really indigenous features made a year here. And by here I mean New Orleans, not Louisiana in general.
Right.
And it's frustrating because there's a lot of one and done directors. A lot of kids come out of UNO. They've made shorts that maybe have won awards or played the local festival, and they get fired up about doing a feature because they have this idea that it's sort of like the story of Good Will Hunting, where 2 actors wrote parts for themselves and etc. Or they have this idea that it's like Clerks or El Mariachi, which was 20 plus years ago now. The market for independent films is completely different, and they make the film, they put their blood, sweat, and tears into it, and it maybe premieres at the New Orleans Film Festival but there are no distributors. There's nobody, the phone doesn't ring, and...
Was that because it sucks, or because...
No, because nobody's
doesn't matter how
seeing
good
it.
it
Because
is.
it's not
Nobody's
that's not a market festival. There are only a handful of festivals where people actually buy and sell films.
But if I made a great movie, though, like suppose you made a great movie, is there?
Right.
How do you get it seen? How do you get out of here?
Well, that's the trick. We have a problem in New Orleans in the filmmaking community where there's no education about how to answer that question. The film schools here largely focus on either academic aspects of film, like film history, or they focus on nuts and bolts.
But is
work,
this what you learn in film school? Is how to sell a film? I thought you learned how to make a film.
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
even at USC or UCLA or anything.
Yeah, those programs are better at it. I mean, obviously, they're among the best in the world, but UNO and Tulane and stuff, they don't have a program to explain, the independent film.
Well, is there an
architecture.
explanation? Do you know how? I mean, you've been on all sides of the camera here now.
Yeah, and I
how
sold a
do
film.
you how do you get this film you've made out of New Orleans then into the world?
Well, you have to be in the larger national independent film circuit. You have to get yourself out there. In New Orleans, it's very tricky because the industry doesn't come to you. And by industry, I mean the independent film industry, not Hollywood South. But so.
Well, how are you going to do it? So where are you with this movie?
So Laundry Days, what we're going to do is I have all these. We have like 1,000 people who've helped us with the film, and they deserve the first screening. So I'm gonna.
So it's almost finished.
Yeah, it's almost finished. I'm gonna book the
once
Britannia.
once you get the headphones thing figured out,
right,
you'll be able to finish it.
Well,
okay, so you're going to book the Britannia Theatre,
right, for
uptown
for one night.
Okay,
and then
how many people can you squeeze in there?
It's a good question. I think it's
not that
600.
many. 600. Okay,
wow.
So that'll be for cast and crew type thing only.
Exactly.
So we can't go see that.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then 2016 is all about getting it into the hands of programmers, and then what you want is the way independent films build buzz is about tastemakers giving it their stamp of approval, like getting people who are connected and well respected to pass it on to people, or to say something good about it in a setting where there's another person higher up the ladder who will hear it. So it's about buzz. Buzz is the
okay. Well, like who? Like
motor
Leon
oil.
Blanda, say?
No, it has to. Somebody
not
connected to
good.
distribution, ideally. So you're
George Clooney.
Right.
Could you send it to George Clooney and say, hey, listen, remember me?
Remember me, right?
I've made a movie. Take a look at
Just
it.
don't send it to Pierce Brosnan, just in case he hears this interview.
Yep.
No.
What's the chance of getting George Clooney to see it? Are you still in touch with anybody there?
Clooney's production company has changed shape about 3 times since he severed his ties with Soderbergh. He's now working with Grant Hensloff. The production company is called Smokehouse, and he's essentially doing his own thing. So he doesn't really have a development staff anymore because they're generating.
Well, you don't care about
material.
that. You've finished the movie. You don't need to develop it.
No,
It's
what I
finished.
mean is the development staff would be the kinds of people who look at material and bring it to George's attention.
Oh, I see.
The gatekeepers for his attention, because I don't.
How would you get something to him then? So he
Well-
must have someone representing him or something.
I mean, I know his former executives who worked there. And
Are
they're all over Hollywood now.
They're not there anymore.
Right, exactly. It's a tricky thing. It's one of those things I think about constantly. Is like
Get your to-do list out and let's see if it's on there.
Yeah.
Is it on there?
No, because that's a high rung. Like I need to do like 500 steps to get back to a position where I could get it to him. Things like I need to go to Sundance and meet people.
Oh, it's a whole
programmers and-
schmoozing bullshit
Exactly.
thing.
It's
Oh,
total-
that sucks. You can't just send it to somebody.
Just email him. Just
George at
I'm sure you could,
georgeclooney.com.
Can you make
I
a
think he has
trailer?
a Gmail account.
We have a trailer.
Where do we find it?
LaundryDayFilm.com.
Laundry Day Film. Okay.
Did you film it at Checkpoint Charlie's?
We filmed it. Yes, we filmed
Sweet.
it all on actual locations and actual 24-hour
Wait,
dive
so
bars.
what about the people who were in the fight? Were they in the movie
No,
as well? Oh, that would have been amazing.
Well,
Please
a couple
reenact how
of them
you
were
hate each
gutter
other.
punks who just kind of evaporated. So,
Yes,
That's
they
what
do.
gutter punks do. They just slowly evaporate. I've read
Well,
that.
I'm looking forward to seeing this then. So if we go to laundrydayfilm.com, we can see the trailer at least.
yeah.
And if
there's-
anyone listening to this knows George Clooney or anybody, not
Yeah.
him.
What's important is in 2015, getting a lot of people, you guys seem interested in the film, getting you guys to get on the mailing list so I can show somebody we have all these interested people.
Shit, we could help you out with that.
Yeah,
How
put
much
us
are you
on.
paying us for that?
Can I have that 20 back?
So that helps. That kind of bullshit, like the Facebook page
Yes.
and Twitter followers and all that crap.
they're called metrics, and it's all about metrics
But
now.
you can buy all that stuff.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
That doesn't count. So somebody knows that.
You need actionable fans. You need having 10,000 likes on Facebook doesn't matter if you can't get 10,000 people to buy a CD or a DVD. It's
How do you do that? How does someone who you send this to, say, ABC Productions or whatever it's called, XYZ Productions, and they say, who the fuck is this guy? And they look you up on Facebook
Right.
and say, he's got 10,000 film. How do they know that you couldn't sell 10,000?
because there's multiple metrics. If there's one metric that's way out of whack with the rest, if I have 100 Twitter followers and 10,000 likes on Facebook, that's a huge red flag.
You can buy all that. You can get. I got something. Did you see? I got something on Twitter that someone sent me because we have this. It's New Orleans Twitter account where we have the thing about the person blowing themselves up in France. And someone sent me this thing that said we can get you X million Twitter followers overnight. I'm like, yeah, sure thing. And for free, they give you a demo, and you just type in 2 or 3 parameters what you're looking for. I'm looking for Swedish
Yeah.
lingerie models or something.
Well, I imagine.
And sure enough, there's 500 people show up on your Twitter feed.
They're bots.
In
right?
minutes.
They're
They're
bots,
not even-
and then
yeah.
That's
Twitter
all bullshit, but
cancels
how's-
all the accounts
Ah,
as soon
they
as they
do,
catch
okay.
them,
Okay.
and your numbers drop again.
Oh, okay.
And meanwhile, you're out the money because there's no refunds.
Well, I didn't pay anything, but I assume you have to pay eventually for that.
Right.
So none of that works, though. None of that stuff works.
None of that matters to a distributor because what they really want are like, think of the 90s independent filmmakers who we're still talking about today. They like Quentin Tarantino and Kevin Smith and Robert Rodriguez. They were all great. They were the great audience builders.
Kevin Smith, those movies suck, basically, didn't they?
Yeah,
Let's
but
face it. Didn't they? You remember that Clerks and all that crap?
But he's
and
a
Silent Bob
speaking-
and some fucking thing. Yeah, he's like a
he's
hype
a public
merchant.
speaking phenomenon.
Yeah,
I mean, this guy
he's a hypester.
Yeah,
guy.
he-
The
and
films sucked. I thought they were
even he admits that. Like, but
does.
It's something about a combination of the material. Like, he couldn't have done that just on his own. He just would have been another. He having all these movies. There's a synergy that keeps his audience intact and growing. It's kind of amazing considering the films are but.
Well, what's the explanation? Because we can.
I
make
would go
shitty
back to that
films.
term tastemaker, which just oh
Exactly.
man, it just makes me disgusted with the complexion of art in general. Because whether it's film or music or anything, there are these tastemakers who are also just tasters like everybody else.
Right.
And they get a taste and they like it, and then everybody else says, "Oh, I want a taste of that."
Yeah.
It just
Because they
That's
stand
it.
for something. It's really weird. I'm not a follower of any of these people except as artists, but you look into their little communities, they've got basically self-sustaining cults that follow them around and just buy whatever they're putting out. Kevin Smith makes more money on T-shirts and stuff than he does on films now. But the
can say
weird
what you can laugh
it's
at.
call audience building, and it's
That's
the thing
right.
in music.
Yeah,
too.
we can make fun
That's
of
what-
Kevin Smith and say he sucks, but we're still talking about him.
I know, exactly.
How
And
does
he's
how
maintained
do
his
you do
relevancy
that?
over
Right.
time. In fact, maybe even more so because his business model, he struggled with the studio system a lot in the early 2000s because he wasn't really ready for the bigger films and didn't really care because he wanted to make films for his friends. And I think that's what he's really good at, is making you feel like you're hanging out in a living room with him and his pals, and they're just entertaining you with their fart jokes and stuff. And that coziness, that intimacy is it's rare to be able to do that in mass media. And so, anyway, I feel like audience building is like the name of the game now. And
Okay.
with Laundry Day, the appeal is kind of basically like New Orleans as it really is, as opposed to the way you've seen it.
So that's the hook.
I'm trying to sell
The
the
real New
authenticity.
Orleans.
Yeah.
Well, that's
And-
what we're about.
What?
That's what we're about. Happy Hour. That's what we're talking
Right.
about. We're trying to
Exactly.
make a show that's about the real New Orleans. And a bunch of people sitting around a bar talking.
And that was
Yeah.
you're the first podcast. In fact, this is probably the first bit of media I've ever been on to promote the movie.
Well,
ever,
hey, that's a good place
you know?
to start because
Yeah.
no one's listening. So
We,
awesome.
we were on the Ellen show.
Were you?
What?
No, not at all. But she's from New Orleans.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I
That is
figure
true.
maybe kind of we can get away. No, your movie sounds amazing.
I have a
It
list
does
at home
sound
of people from New Orleans, like Patricia Clarkson, who are, but I don't know if are they from Metairie, because there's so many people from here who don't seem like here,
Well, that's the cool thing about New Orleans, though. There's so many people who are here who are different. It's such a
Well,
diverse.
the difference is people aren't leaving here anymore. They're staying here.
Yeah, and that's a
There's
problem.
not a whole
They're
bunch
coming
of
here.
They're coming here. Yeah, you can find people coming here who are tastemakers now.
Is that right?
I don't have a clue, but that's what everyone says. There's
Sounds-
this revolution that all these people are moving here.
Yeah, I hear most of my friends are musicians and bartenders, and they every once in a while they'll come in from work and be like, Seth Rogen was sitting at my bar, and I hung out with them, and I'm like, did you mention my movie? Oh, I forgot. Oh, thank you.
Kind of friend are you?
They're like, are they like, dude, we're your friend. We're tired of mentioning your art form because we get that.
No,
sometimes.
I just think they're, it would.
Can't you make
I'm
something?
being tongue in cheek about it, but
Yeah.
basically there's these giant people in the industry who kind of hang out in the French Quarter a lot, and
Why
they
don't
make
you?
a lot of movies.
Why don't
here,
you
but-
leave something to help make them leave behind?
Because
like
I
a
need
match,
the intel ahead of
matchbook
time,
or
not after
something.
the
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Leave on the bar. Like these guys have got something in their back pocket to give George Clooney or
Yeah,
Or Seth
Stick her
Rogen
on
when
a
he
urinal
walks
that I
in.
can piss on, something like
right,
that.
but
It's
I'd have
fun.
to go to every bar in the quarter every day to keep
Nah,
the
just
stack
give it in
of
your
stuff.
back pocket.
Hustle. You got to hustle.
Well, I do. This is,
what would be wrong with that? I mean, they're not going to give away. What have
Here
you
we go,
got?
here we go.
Oh,
There it
it's
is.
cards.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're talking.
and we got
A laundry
the
day
soundtrack. I'm really proud of the soundtrack because it's all original songwriters in a city that doesn't really
cool.
give songwriters their due.
Sweet Crude, Lynn Drury, Happy Talk Band, Jim Smith,
I
Stan
appreciate
Frontier,
that
Beth
as a musician,
Patterson,
man.
Dirty
Thank
Mouth,
you.
Gal Holiday, Caddy Wampus, Andy J. Forrest, Fox and the Hound, Barehanded Bear Handlers, and Little Freddie King. Whole bunch of locals.
You got good eyesight, I'll say that.
It's on the back, dude. It's way
I
bigger.
know, I can
you
see it.
You can't see that?
What's that little type say?
It says,
Oh, can't read that.
it says
You can't read that either.
Featuring new songs and original music by Sneaky Pete and the Fens, and a soundtrack of New Orleans' best songwriters.
Nice.
Nice.
I see you didn't include Andrew Duhon in your
Well, we just met.
collection of best songwriters.
yeah, but
I'm going to make you play a song now and then. Come on, let's
Shit.
do
you
it.
got any?
come on,
Yeah,
Andrew,
Andrew, play something.
yeah.
Oh, look,
Alright,
they've
play a
turned the
song.
lights down. It's nice and subdued lighting now.
Moody. All right, I'll go
Okay.
grab the axe.
Go get the guitar.
You got any movie themed material?
Are you kidding?
It all fits movies.
Yes.
Man. It's all right in that wheelhouse.
Yeah, every time Andrew plays something, which is most weeks, I say that should be in a movie.
Is that right?
Yeah. Isn't that right, you guys?
Yeah,
Excellently.
every time I listen
Yeah.
to this
I say that
podcast,
should be in a movie.
You say
So
that.
this song that he's going to play today, is it too late to get a song in the movie?
Yeah, it is. Sorry,
It's
but
it's
next
all
movie,
over.
I want to do a movie a year for the rest of my life. So
That's like Woody Allen.
that's a lot of
is that?
soundtracks.
You could marry your own daughter. Do you have a stepdaughter? That's a good
Wait a
way.
minute.
That's
How did we? That was a really fast set of jumps there.
Woody Allen makes a movie every year, and he's made a movie every year for the last, I don't
That's
know,
true.
40 years, and he married his own stepdaughter, so I thought
Who is
maybe,
Asian?
No, it was an
maybe that would be a
adopted-
good way in
yeah.
for you.
Well, that's funny. My first movie, Burning Annie, is about a college student with a Annie Hall obsession, and
It
we
is.
actually got Woody Allen's permission to make it.
So you know Woody Allen pretty much.
I know his lawyer,
Jesus
Erwin
Christ. Well,
Tenenbaum. Yeah,
Irvin Tannenbaum. Well, that would be a good person to send Laundry Day to right there.
I don't know.
Does it have an inappropriate relationship with a 15-year-old or anything like that?
No,
Well, you probably wouldn't like it then, but still, you could try. You
it's an interesting thought.
Send it to Irvin Tannenbaum.
And say what?
Check this out. I think this is a great movie. I was inspired by my first movie, which was based on Annie Hall, or whatever the hell that was based on.
Right.
You have to make that shit up, and then see if Woody watches it. I mean, what else has he got to do all day or night?
Right, you
really?
got to give it a shot.
He must be 80 years old. Hey, we got a good text coming in right here.
that was my mother.
What does
Oh,
she?
good.
What does she say,
She
Dominick?
said, "Are y'all home for us to come see Jack?"
Jack.
Jack is my 6-year-old son. It's his birthday today.
Nice.
One of
Happy
four.
birthday,
one of 4
Jack.
kids.
You have
Yeah.
4 kids already.
I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what they do in Pearl River.
But you're like
That's
20
part of
years
the
old.
deal.
Lord.
Nothing else
You're not
to do.
married
Yeah.
to your own sister or cousin or anything, are you?
No, well, she was my. No, I'm not going to go there with it. Never mind.
But just say no, you're not married to your own cousin or sister.
No,
like the rest
not
of the
that I
Pearl
know
River.
of. Not that I know of. We're
Okay.
British. So, yeah, Kira, Killian, Jack, and Bruce. I'm going to just say all my kids' names.
All
on there.
right.
Okay,
Ah,
so
very
let's
nice.
do it.
So Jack is 6.
Jack is
and
6.
how old's Kira? The oldest.
Kira, she is 11. Killian, my son, is 8. And then Bruce is 19 months.
Wow.
Cool.
So you look pretty young. You must have started when you were pretty young.
I did. I was like 4.
You had your first kid at 4. That's nice. That's the Pearl River way.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
That's a
Kinda
virile kid.
I watch
Jeez.
a lot of James Bond movies, not the Pierce Brosnan ones.
Mhm.
So no, but yeah, James Bond. He taught me how to
Stumble
woo
into it.
my wife. Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
And how long have you been married? You?
almost
All that
10
time.
years,
10 years.
I think.
So you started having kids pretty early on. in the
Yeah, and I'm
relationship.
still doing the math. I'm still figuring out
I
how that
can't
worked
figure that out
I
either. But
don't
were you high
get
school
it.
sweethearts there at Pearl River High? Or what?
No. She
With-
went to North Shore, actually. North
Okay.
Shore.
So
in
how did you meet?
Slidell. She basically stalked me.
Yeah,
And,
I could see that.
I was like, all right, I'll give it a whirl. And I did. Worst thing I've ever done. Just kidding. I love you, Shelley. They're all giving me this look now, like, oh, God. No, she's got a sense of humor.
That's
Okay.
important.
All right. And so Jack's 6 today.
Jack's
And
6
what are you
today.
doing for his birthday? Mom's coming over.
Well,
Where does Mom live? Your Mom.
Mom lives past Pearl River, actually.
Oh,
She lives
in Mississippi.
Past Pearl. No,
There's
close
still more
to-
Louisiana.
There's
apart
still there's a hidden city behind Pearl River called Sixth Ward.
from- 6
Whoa.
Ward.
There's another hidden city between those two
What?
called
that?
Hickory.
Oh, is there?
Yes.
You go there. There's nothing
Oh
but
my
like
God.
Okay, so it
stars.
goes
It's
Slidell,
Mhm.
Hickory,
uh-huh.
6th Ward
Yes.
before you get
The
to
ward
Mississippi.
of Sixth. I don't know what's beyond that point. I'm afraid
I
of
think the Mississippi
going.
there's not.
That's the-
We have the map and
It's the beyond, and then after that is the bed and bath. I don't know. I don't know how that
Oh,
works.
that's very good. Okay.
Thanks. That was witty.
All right.
I was saving that for
okay.
this.
That was a good line.
Thank you. Thank
okay,
you.
you cross that off now on your
Can
to-do
I?
list.
Yeah,
Andrew,
I got it from
what are
his
you
to-do
playing?
list.
I told Randy while you were gone that this would be good movie music.
Oh, well, we'll see. So I wrote this song in Lafayette, and, you know, I like to play new things. And I wrote a new one this afternoon, but I can't remember it. Possibly. There's way too many words. So, but next week I'll have it down.
right.
But this one you probably already heard, but yeah, it goes like this. I was taken back by a photograph, never seen such a face. She was a waitress from the days of black and white. Taken here, though, so many years ago at this cafe, that I'm sure these days she wouldn't recognize. Oh, Celia Champagne, I've come along much too late to know the days of your maiden name. But had our times been the same, I'd visit you every day. Oh, Cecilia, I'd steal you away. It seems I've come along much too late. Those were old days, nothing gold stays. Time passes on, even black and white fades, and we move along. Still in my mind, lips are red wine, strawberry blonde, cherry cokes for the boys in your uniform. Oh, Celia Champagne, come along much too late to know the days of your maiden name. But had our times been the same, I'd visit you every day. Oh, Cecilia, I'd steal you away. It seems I've come along much too late. If only I'd been a man back then, back when you were a woman. Oh, Celia Champagne, I've come along much too late to know the days of your maiden name. But had our times been the same, I'd visit you every day. Oh, Cecilia, I'd steal you away. Seems I've come along much too late.
Yes, very nice. The fabulous Andrew Duhon.
Thanks, Joe.
Cecilia Champagne off the forthcoming album, Fill in the Blank.
That'll probably make it.
I love the champagne theme we've got going. It's much better than the death and horror theme we had at the beginning.
Well, we started off with the champagne theme from Alison Moon.
Yeah,
our
and the
photographer.
Charlie Hebdo cartoon,
Yep.
and Alison's trip.
Yeah, and Alison just got back from Paris, so nice to see her back safe and sound, and that's a beautiful song to end the show on.
Thanks, buddy.
Celia Champagne from Andrew Duhon, thank you so much for being here. Filmmaker Randy Mack has been here, the members of the Fixers.
Pleasure.
Leon Blanda's brother Dominick, and Ryan Duke as well.
Thank
you guys so much for joining us. That's
Thank you for
Happy
having
Hour
us.
for another week. You can find out more about all these people on our website. It's neworleans.com. Our show was produced today by Graham DePonte. It was technically produced and associate produced as well by Chris Kehoe. Christian Unruh is our music director, and our theme music was written by and is currently being played by Mitch Foreman. Check out Mitch's brand new album called Puzzle. You can find that at mitchellforeman.com. If you'd like to be on this show and you can sit around a table for about 60 minutes and stay relatively sober, drop us a line. Our address is on our website, it's neworleans.com, where you can find plenty of other happy hours to listen to. as well as some other shows we make here. Out to Lunch with Peter Asciuti, live from Commander's Palace. Also, we make Out to Lunch in Lafayette and Baton Rouge. You can find those if you poke around online as well. True to the Game with Chris True, Midnight Menu +1 with Margot Moss and the man who ate New Orleans, Ray Canada, is on our website as well. As Louisiana Eats with Poppy Tucker, Milo's Music Parlor with Kim Vu and The Revolution, your new way to buy a house in New Orleans, the podcast Unlisted NOLA. You can keep up with us on Facebook, on Twitter as well, and a bunch of other time-sucking social media. On all of it, we're called It's New Orleans. You can also find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com and on our Facebook and Google Plus pages that nobody uses. Those photos were taken by the fabulous Alison Moon, who we talked to earlier in the show. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher or some other podcast app, thank you for subscribing to us. I mean that. Thank you. It does help to have a few people listening to the show. There's 3 people listening now, Randy. That should help you with the mailing list on the
Those are
to-do
the right
list.
people.
You can help us as well by taking a moment to stop and rate and review us. That helps other people find us. Our show is recorded live today at the fabulous Wayfare on Ferret Street, where they put fine dining into a sandwich, fine booze into a glass, and have an awesome brunch both days of the weekends. That's Saturday and Sunday, if you're keeping track. Happy Hour is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For Andrew Duhon, everyone around the table here at Wayfare and back at our office at INO, where they're working hard on tomorrow's tweets. Make sure you check those out on Twitter. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Grant Morris. We'll see you back here next week on Happy Hour.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while a choir goes, statements coming at ya, statements coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see you at practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.